Hello.
Hi, fellow journalism students.
Hello, journalists.
We're doing it.
Welcome to our presentation on dependent and independent clauses.
And if you haven't heard of this before, I don't know how you got into the J school, so
here we go. We'll dive right in.
Let's do this. Why do I need to know this?
Good question.
Is because you're a journalism major.
Wow, that's it. Simple as that.
That's it. Literally, it just makes you a better writer. Yeah, that's literally it. It's just sentence structure, is basic sentence structure, and looking at this is not a complete sentence, and this is a complete sentence.
Yeah. And the more you know about like how different sentences can come together, you can like make sentences more complex and some not as complex, or you can elevate your style or likewise make it more simplistic if you need to. So playing around with sentence structure and syntax, very important.
Yes. All right, so dependent clauses. A dependent clause contains a subject and a verb or a verb phrase, but it's not a complete thought. Like, you know those sentences where you read them and you're like, that's not a complete sentence, but you're like, what is that called? Because it has some moving parts going along with it. That is a dependent clause. So if you have a dependent clause standing alone in a sentence, it's not grammatically right.
That's it.
It's just not a sentence.
It's just not. So you can connect it with independent clauses, or you could like throw another independent clause, but you have to have that independent clause in there, and we'll talk about those in a second, and those that completes a sentence. But you can connect those with punctuations like commas, dashes, and colons, which we already talked about in our presentation on commas, dashes, and colons. And then dependent clauses usually begin with like because, although, you can see the list there. So if you see those are kind of like trigger words for you to be able to recognize it. This is a dependent clause, could be a fragment, might need to look at my sentence to make sure it's complete at the end.
Types of not independent clauses, types of dependent clauses. It's just your standard objective clause, adverbial clause, and noun clause. And we all know what adjectives, verbs, or adverbs and nouns are. But as you can see, we have some samples for here. I refuse to attend. We don't know what they refuse to attend, but that is the point. It's not a complete thought, but refuse is an adjective, so it's an adjective clause. Then we see when the show is on and you're kind of like, okay, and get along with it. That's how you know. That's your indicator. And then, of course, the noun clause. Whoever thought of the idea?
What idea?
I don't know.
Let's find out.
Yeah. Okay.
So that moves us. Oh, these are more examples.
Yeah. We get it. We know. We've been there.
We know. See what I mean? Since it snowed last night, because the dog went to the park until he arrives after she returned from sledding. So these are just parts, and these can go at the beginning or the end of sentences. So it doesn't really have to go at like the first part. But if you see these, then these would be the dependent clauses that you need to either fix or add to.
I'm like squeaking in this chair.
Yeah. And then independent clauses are clauses that also have a subject and a verb, but they are complete and coherent thoughts. So it can be a sentence itself, like I ate the pineapple. And an independent clause can be combined with other independent clauses or dependent clauses, like we said, with punctuations to provide more detail throughout that. Mm-hmm. And then this is just how you would use them and kind of like how to build on top of them. So there's 4 different like basic types of sentences. You have simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. So a simple sentence is basic. Sarah studies. A compound is Sarah studies and Carl eats. So you have 2 independent clauses. And then your complex sentence would be 1 independent clause and then at least a dependent clause. So while Sarah studies, Carl eats. And then a compound complex is like a smorgasbord of them all. So at least 2 independent clauses and a dependent clause. Sarah studies and because he was hungry, Sam reads. You can see how it's offset with the commas there.
If you proofread any of Preston's papers, he writes in only compound complex sentences.
I love my dependent clauses.
So you'll be 4 lines in and you're still reading it, but it's grammatically correct because it's a compound complex sentence. So
yeah. Kaylee uses simple sentences.
I do.
Journalists use simple sentences.
Straight, cut and to the point.
That's how you play around.
So, yeah, when you're analyzing grammar, it's really just best to break it down piece by piece, read it out loud. If it doesn't sound right, trust your gut. Like, it probably isn't right. Sometimes the clauses will be separated by punctuation. Sometimes it won't be as simple as that. You'll be able to just kind of see the fragments, as we'll show in another example. But yeah, as you can see, he went to the store, comma, after watching TV all day, comma, to buy something for dinner. That fragment, that dependent clause in the middle of those sentences, that is what we are talking about.
Done. So these are some practice problems. You can do them on your own. We're going to show you the answers and we'll go through them one by one. But determine the independent and dependent clauses in each sentence. You can read them yourself. And then in the second part, if necessary, correct the following sentences grammatically. Make sure to follow AP style. And then determine all independent and dependent clauses in each sentence. So if you want to figure it out on your own, pause the video right here. And if not, we'll move on to the answers.
Feel free to click subscribe.
Yeah, you can like and comment below.
All right. And wow, there's the answers. Oh my gosh. Perfectly color-coded, so you can not mess this up and make a mistake on whatever you may be doing in your future careers.
Yeah, I think just like looking at them, you can kind of tell like by like the key phrases and the keywords that we saw, like wherever would be an adverb. And then that's how you would get your dependent clauses. And then if you look at like the second one, even the third one, which doesn't have that separation with the comma, you can tell that John raced to the car on the street, or to his car on the street is a full sentence, could be stopped there. But if you needed to keep going, you could add that dependent clause.
Yeah.
And then, on the second kind of section, the second example would be a complete rewrite because of the dangling modifier, which is something that I'm sure another group has talked about or will talk about. Yeah, that's independent and dependent clauses.
Yeah. Please direct all of your questions to Preston and I's email. Dr. LePeau, we hope you're having a great time at home with the child.
Hope your baby is doing well.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Have a great day.
Love grammar.
Love grammar.
Thanks for watching.